Hey buddy, welcome back to the channel and to World of Warships. So today I actually have a double feature for you guys. A double Kraken, two consecutive Krakens in the Tier 7 British premium cruiser Belfast. So I was actually trying to finish one of the missions. The part 3 of the Exeter Last Stand, hit enemy ships 1,000 times with primary guns. So I was starting to look over my port and trying to find a British destroyer, cruiser or battleship with high rate of fire and good survivability. So I thought it was time to dust off the old HMS Belfast. And boy, do this ship deliver. So I managed to get 2 consecutive games with the Kraken in both. And this is the first one on Two Brothers. It's a 4-cap domination game and we are top tier. So my thoughts are to follow my allied destroyer to the A-cap to try and help him contest the cap with my smoke and hydro and radar. There is no carrier in this match, which is always nice. I'm not a really big fan of the new CV rework. The possibility for a carrier to just buzz around a ship and continue to strike it over and over and over again. I don't know. I was playing Nelson, the Tier 7 premium British battleship before, which has pretty weak anti-aircraft guns. And I couldn't really keep up with my team, which meant that I was pretty alone. And of course the carrier came in and just torpedoed me over and over and over again. I don't really know if it was like 3 or 4 times after one another. So even with I really held on to the repair and waited for the last strike. And even with the massive heal that the Nelson comes with, I really couldn't do anything to save myself. So sometimes it feels like you don't really have a chance if you take the wrong ship and you happen to come across a carrier. So we land at the cap and it's 2 enemy destroyers contesting it. So I pop my Hydra and radar to try and spot them for my team. See if we can do some damage to these destroyers. I'm not really having any luck in landing my salvos, and unfortunately it looks like the radar is running out. But it looks like one of the destroyers don't have last stand, so he keeps on drifting outside his own smokescreen. Last stand on a destroyer at any tier should absolutely be the number 2 captain skill that you always take. Doesn't really matter which destroyer or which tier. After you've done the first captain point, you should always go for last stand, just to avoid situations like this guy finds himself in right now. So we managed to broke his engine again. So he's pretty much a sitting duck, and that is why you always need to have last stand. Because with that captain skill you can always limp away, so to speak, and go into safety. And in this case he could actually have stopped his ship and stayed in his smoke screen, which would have saved his life. So that's a pro tip for you guys. If you drive destroyers, always go for last stand as your second captain skill. Now the second destroyer seemed to actually be hanging around, which I don't really understand since he knows there's a Belfast around. And of course Belfast reloads its radar pretty fast. Mine is up right now. And he is still contesting and pushing pretty hard. Which I don't really recommend. Now my Hydro is on cooldown, so I'm a bit cautious pushing in because I don't want to get blapped by the Minikase torps. Minikase, of course, being a sister ship to the Kamikaze twins or triplets, is an extremely potent and strong torp boat at tier 5. So I'm popping my smoke and my radar, and I caught out the enemy Minikase. So I secure my second kill, and I have cleared this cap for our team. So me and my allied destroyer can start capping this cap. On the other side, our team has been really successful as well in securing the D cap. So we have a massive advantage right now. We will have a cap advantage, we already have a point advantage and also ship advantage. But you should never take out the victory too quickly in this game. I learned many times the hard way. Even though you think, oh, okay, a ship is actually so close, so I get spotted in my smoke screen and it's an enemy Pensacola pushing my position. So of course I'm switching to armor piercing really quick, because I'm guessing that he will show off his broadside to me. And then I can pretty much hammer him with my armor piercing. He, of course, having, I think, the American 203s, of course, are able to punish me in my very thin armor as well. So it's pretty much a battle of the DPM, which Belfast won. So we pretty much cleared this flank from any possibility of destroyers or cruisers, and the remaining battleships seems to be bailing. I had to disengage for a bit while I was spotted, because I didn't want to eat a full AP salvo from one of the battleships. But now when I have gone dark again, I will continue my chase. We have two sneaky destroyers that had sailed through the middle like Flambas and have secured their home cap as well. So I have one battleship riding the border, which is below half health. So of course I will call out him as a target for my team, because you should always try and focus fire if you are a couple of ships, and always go for the weaker link in the enemy team. So since the other battleships in the background also are pushing into my fire range, I thought it was worth it to pop my smoke, because then I can pretty much switch between the 3 different targets, trying to set them all on fire and just farming that damage. So I got 1 fire on the first one, a second fire on the second one, and now when it looks like this battleship hood had repaired, I thought I could probably get a permafire, which I just did. So we are actually down on ships, but we still have a pretty strong position, having 3 of the 4 caps and also a point advantage. And I managed to take out the enemy hood, securing my 4th kill and also a new permafire. Nelson, of course, having that insanely strong British battleship heal that is only available to the tier 9 and 10 usually, can of course heal back pretty much 100% of the fire damage I do to him. But fortunately our Nelson gets a good salvo in on him and takes him out. Now, who is left is our enemy Miyoko in the background. We also have a battleship, I think, taking back the sea cap. And since we are in a disadvantage in ships, I thought it was a good thing to pretty much push with my fellow battleships here and try and really secure this game. Which is quite possible in the Belfast. You have the strength and possibility to carry the team for a whole bit. The Nelson is having a really good game. He blapped the Miyoko as well. So now my closest target is this battleship that is flipping the sea cap. So I'm just trying to angle away, creating a bit of a distance from him. So it will be okay for me to start fire spamming him. You don't really want to get too close to enemy battleships in the Belfast. Since you have really thin paper armor, you won't bounce pretty much any of the shell. So I managed to get my Confederate medal while I'm starting to burn down this battleship. Now I know many people just hate the Belfast and think it's pay to win and it's just wallet warriors that own this ship and so on and so forth. And sure, I can relate. I mean, this ship is insanely powerful. It has radar, smoke, hydro. It doesn't really lack any of the most important consumables. But also, you need to have a pretty decent captain as well, captaining this ship, because you do see a whole lot of Mikhail Kutuzovs and HMS Belfasts on the servers just getting blapped left and right and ending up in the bottom of every match pretty much. So it's not like a auto win to take this ship out. That said, you can really make a difference if your team is a bit less than stellar. You can pretty much make up the difference with this ship. So it's coming down to the last ticks on the points. We are up to 950 points. and it's only a destroyer and a battleship left. I'm trying to catch up to my friendly battleships, so I pop my hydro, because hopefully being able to spot any torps. Unfortunately, I wasn't close enough to the most forward battleship to be able to save him with my hydroacoustic search. I do land a fire on the destroyer, so I will try and push forward in front of my second battleship here, so he won't have to suffer the same fate. And of course, this Nelson, I mean, what a guy! Extremely competent battleship player. He secured the kill on the destroyer as well. So, my hats off to this guy. And now it's only a battleship left. I am extremely low health, so of course I will have to take it a bit carefully. And the match ends. So, 900,000 credits, 18,000 XP, and 13,000 free XP. Almost 160,000 damage, Confederate, Kraken Unleashed, and high caliber. 15 fires, 4 cap resets, and 1 cap. So all in all, a pretty decent game. Made number 1 in the match, which is always nice. My hat off to this Ke Oing, I think his name is, the Nelson player on my team. Extremely competent guy who also did a great work in this match. And a decent damage to a decent amount of the enemy fleet. Tanked over 700,000, which is always good in a mid-tier paper cruiser. I think I damaged them all pretty much. Almost. 10 out of 12 ships. And some good credit and experience earned. So we're jumping directly into the next Kraken match, which was the match that I played directly after the first one. And this is a standard battle on the map Trident. So I spawn on the right flank. The enemy have Exeter, Miyoko, which will prove to be a pain in my ass, pretty much. We have 4 destroyers per team and no carriers. Thank God. I'm not a huge fan of the CVU rework. Don't really like the way CVs function these days. And the thing that you need to switch side for your AA right in between a gunfight, you have to like flip your AA guns. I mean, I thought the earlier system where you pretty much just right-click the squadron to take them out was way better. Now you have to look at the minimap to see which side enemy plane squadron is, and pretty much flip over your AA to that side, and when your AA has finally flipped over to that side, then he has already striked you again and is on the other side. I mean, that is just too much micromanagement for me to enjoy this game, pretty much. That is not so fun. And also it pretty much negates the possibility for me to play one of my absolute favorite destroyers in the game, which is the tier 9 Yugomo, as you've seen on my channel many times. It's one of my absolute favorite destroyers in the Japanese line, but of course, to be able to play that the way you should play that, you need to have the torp reload booster. But then you have to give away your smokescreen. And if you happen to end up in a game with a carrier, you can pretty much not do anything. Because he will, if he spots you, he will pretty much just keep you perma-spotted and kill you off. And you can't do anything about it, because you can't hide in your smoke. Before, it wasn't really that big of an issue when you faced a carrier with the Yugomo without smoke. Because then you could pretty much dodge one strike and then he had to return his planes. And you could pretty much reposition yourself on the map. So I met enemy Jervis and the enemy Miyoko on this flank, and my teammates are pretty far away from me. So I need to play a bit passive, because if I don't have anybody spotting for me, it's gonna be hard for me to really be effective. So I get spotted by the Jervis again, so I'm just turning my ship around, trying to reposition and fall back. But the enemy Miyoko is keeping me under fire. He managed to light a fire on my ship. I'm waiting for a couple of seconds, but when I think it's safe, I use my damage con. And of course, next salvo lands a double perma fire on me. Maybe it's RNGesus giving me the long finger because I earned a Kraken in the game before. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But this presents a bit of a problem for me. Because I'm almost down to half my health. Which means that I will have to play a bit more passive than I would like the rest of the match to be able to secure the win for our team. So this Miyoko has shown to be a really potent fire starter, and of course not really a ship that I want to continue fighting with under the circumstances. I rather fight with ships that I can control the engagement with. So I'm ducking in behind these islands, hoping to be safe from that fire spamming Miyoko. And it should give me the possibility to perhaps engage some of the other cruisers or destroyers on the team. We have an enemy Jervis pretty close. So I'm just slowing down, waiting, trying to see which way he will turn. I was hoping for him to try and turn in between those islands in front of me, trying to go for a YOLO torp run towards those allied battleships. But it seems like he was quite smart, actually. He played it a bit more passive. The enemy Miyoko turns up once again. But I don't really want to shoot him while being so in the open, because I don't really want him to return fire and set me on fire again. So I'm just waiting until I'm closer to the island, which could be a natural shield for me. You should always try and use the islands to your advantage. I managed to set one fire on the Myoko, which hopefully will force him to play a bit more passive while his repair is on cooldown. So that is always a good thing. I pop my radar because I see a smoke screen in front. Unfortunately, the destroyer is quite in a bad position for me to be able to really monetize on this usage of radar consumable. But I'm pushing forward because hopefully he will continue to fire on my allies, which will keep him spotted, and then I can engage him when he comes around the island. The enemy Myoko pops up once more, and he looks like he is spotted by our friendly destroyer. So I take this chance to pop my smoke and hopefully try and take this guy out of the match. Unfortunately, I lose vision of him. I managed to set one fire, and it looks like probably a permafire. I think he repaired the first fire and now he's burning. As you can see, the damage counter going up in the top right corner, which is very good, even though fires don't last that long on cruisers anymore. That will at least take away some of his health. I see another enemy Myoko really close by on the other side of the island. I pop my hydro so I'm not getting surprised by his torps, flipping to armor piercing and just blapping him in the broadsides. So that is actually my first kill after this whole time. And of course, that enemy Myoko, still a pain in my ass. Well, I can't say anything, it's a really good player. I always love and respect people who are able to play a ship to its absolute strength. I see a smoke screen with shells coming out of it, so of course I will pop my radar once again. And it's an enemy Leningrad, and he has sent some torps. He's trying to move forward, getting out of my detection, but unfortunately it's too late for him. Which gives me my second kill. We have a Duke of York pushing on our flank. So I thought I will try and set some fires on him before he managed to get behind the island. Unfortunately, I think I don't give enough lead. We do still have... No, we did have a ship advantage. Now we are even once again. Enemy has some more points, which is not a good thing, so this game is very far from over. I pop one of my smokes once again, trying to take this Exeter out of the game. Exeter, of course, is the tier 5 British cruiser that you are able to attain for free, actually, right now, by doing the missions. That is actually the reason why I am playing the Belfast today. And the Exeter, of course, being a tier 5 cruiser, are the only mid-tier cruiser with a heal. So of course that will be a great addition to anyone's port. The Duke of York is really low, so I try and focus him, of course, trying to take him out of the game, because that will flip the ship advantage and the point advantage to our side. I of course are running IFHE and Demolition Expert on my Belfast, so I do pack a punch with my HE shells. I did notice there was a enemy Jervis right behind this island, so I thought I will try and go around the island with my radar and engage him as well. A low health enemy Omaha pops up, so I start to engage him while I try to round this island and be able to take out the destroyer. For some reason it looks like this Omaha is really holding on. And he got taken out finally by our Arizona. So I'm popping my hydro because my... Oh, okay, I have another enemy destroyer behind me as well. So I'm pretty surrounded by destroyers. So I'm just charging this Jervis because I saw he was low health. So I know having my hydro on, it will be a very slim chance that he will be able to land a torp on me. So I dodged the torps and blap him, earning me my 4th kill and my Confederate. Now I have a bit of a problem. I have an enemy Minikase close to our base. He has extremely good concealment and I'm out of radar. But apparently that doesn't matter, because for some strange reason he thought it was a good thing starting a gunfight with Belfast. Well, I am pretty low health, but yeah, this fight could only end one way. I mean, you should never ever try and pick a gunfight with a Belfast. And you should never try and rush him with torps either, because he has so much good consumables that will keep him safe, pretty much. So that was my 4th kill. Sorry, my 5th kill. So that was my 2nd consecutive Kraken Unleashed in the Tier 7 HMS Belfast. So... well, what can I say? Belfast is an extremely potent and strong ship for Tier 7. And I guess there is a reason why Wargaming has decided to take it out of rotation. The only way to be able to attain this ship these days are exactly the same way as the Mikhail Kutuzov, the Tier 8 Russian premium cruiser, and that is by purchasing an insane amount of super containers and Christmas containers while those are on sale. But having a chance to actually get one of those broken OP premiums that are taken out of circulation in one of those containers are extremely thin. It's like winning the lottery, pretty much. So don't really hold your breath. You will have to spend an insane amount of money to get one of these. And don't really look at Flamus container open videos, because there is some strange RNGesus in the works when he is opening his containers. For some reason he always gets all the banned ships. So I'm using the island again as cover because, well, I actually do have a smoke. I have 2 smokes left, but don't really need to use them when you have natural smoke screens in front of you. But just make sure you keep the island between you and the target that you are shooting. And this is the last ship alive on the enemy team, so this game is quickly coming to an end. So another Kraken game is of course very nice. Confederate, almost 700,000 credits, 76,000 damage done, 5 kills, 6 fires, and 3 citadels on that enemy Myoko. My hat's off to the other Myoko on the team. Don't really remember what name he had, but the one who pretty much followed me up on the flank the entire game. So I spread the love over a whole lot of enemy ships, and I did some good credits and experience. So sorry for the long video, guys, but thank you so much for watching my double consecutive Kraken match in the Belfast. Please leave a comment and a like on the video, and I see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Bye bye.